So the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about sex, all right? Yep, that's the word, people. We've said that people are made to be valuable, not objectified. We've said that sex was made to matter, and we've said that we were made to be the boss of our bodies. So yeah, we've covered a lot, right? So this week, we have one more made idea to talk about, and it's this. We were made for more than sex. Okay, now let me explain. Now, for most people, what they believe about sex is based on messages that they've heard. Like it could be messages from culture, like TV, movies, or commercials. It could be messages from parents or friends. It could be messages from the church. However, what if some of those messages aren't even true? For example, maybe your friends told you that if you had sex with your boyfriend, that would guarantee your future together. That sex would make sure that you guys didn't break up. It might even save the relationship if things aren't going well. Or maybe you've heard that if you have sex, it will keep the other person from cheating on you. On the other hand, maybe you heard that if you refuse to have sex with your girlfriend or boyfriend, they would probably leave you or cheat on you. Maybe movies and TV shows have taught you that sex is how you communicate how much you care about somebody. Like if you love somebody or even have strong feelings for them, that's just how you show it. Maybe you've heard that sex makes you a man or makes you a woman. And no longer a kid, all right? It's your rite of passage into adulthood. You wanna get the first time out of the way so it's not such a big deal anymore. Maybe you've heard or maybe you believe that if someone wants to have sex with you and you agree, you'll feel valued or you'll feel better about yourself. Maybe you feel insecure about the way you look or your body or your social status or your relationship status, and you feel like sex will take away some of those unwanted feelings. Maybe you've heard that if you wait until marriage to have sex, then everything will be perfect. Your marriage will be perfect, your sex life in marriage will be perfect, just like a romantic movie all the time. Or maybe you've heard that sex is the reason you get married. Like let's say there's a couple and they decided to wait, but then it becomes too difficult and people will say to them, well, just get married. That will solve all of your problems. You've probably heard that sex is for marriage, which spoiler alert, that's what we believe. But sometimes people also think that that means that everything but actual sex before marriage is fine. Or that obsessing about sex if you don't have sex is totally fine and healthy. If you've had sex before marriage, it's hopeless. You've messed it all up. Or that following the rules before marriage equals no rules after marriage. Oh, see, we've heard a lot of things, right? You're getting a lot of conflicting messages about sex. And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them aren't even true, even if they were given with the best of intentions. And a lot of those untrue messages all boil down to one big idea, that sex is everything. Sex is everything. And the problem is that thinking this way and believing all of these ideas, it turns sex into something it was never made to be, and that is a god. Now, maybe that sounds dramatic, a dramatic overreaction, but here's what I mean. When we make anything more than it was made to be, when we elevate something beyond its intended value, we are making it an idol. We are making it a god. We are giving it more power than it was made to have. Like when you think about having a boyfriend or girlfriend and you think that that will make you feel valuable, or having a new car will make you feel more important, or how you look will determine how important you are as a person. Like there's nothing wrong with having a boyfriend or girlfriend, a car, or caring about your appearance, but at the same time, those things shouldn't determine your worth. Those things shouldn't determine your value, your significance, on and on. When you allow those things to determine your worth and significance, they're kind of becoming an idol or a god to you. Well, the same is true when it comes to sex. Now, just to be clear, sex is important. We've talked about that in this entire series. Sex does have its place. Sex is a lot of things, but it's not the most important thing about a relationship. It's not the most important thing about someone's life or a couple's marriage or the worth and value of a person. God has bigger plans for you than sex. There's more to you in life than sex, okay? Now, to illustrate this point, I want to tell you about a family who lived thousands of years ago. And hey, I get it. Maybe talking about ancient people doesn't seem like the best way to understand your sex life. But think about it this way. Sex isn't new, okay? It's not a new concept. As long as there have been people, there has been sex, and all the complications that are a part of it. And that was especially true for this family. Their story is found in the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, and it revolves around a man named Jacob who was an early ancestor of Jesus. Now, before we jump in, let me just say something quickly. Some of the twists and turns of this story are a little bit strange, a little bit weird. In the context where things were going on, it wasn't weird, but to us, some of it's gonna be like, yeah, that's strange. So you just gotta relax when you hear all of that, because there's a point, there's a message beneath some of the strange cultural things, okay? Now, as we pick up the story, Jacob had experienced some crazy family drama. He was sent by his father to go live with another member of his family, Laban. But as we'll see, Jacob hadn't seen real crazy yet, okay? It's about to get real crazy, and our story starts here. Now, Laban had 2 daughters. The older daughter was named Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, that's the younger one, he told her father, I'll work for you for 7 years if you'll give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife. Now, right out of the gate, that's strange, I know. But during that time and in that culture, fathers kind of owned their daughters until they married. So as strange as it sounds, Laban was in a position to make and accept this kind of deal. So Jacob did exactly as he promised and worked for 7 years. And by the way, this might be great dating advice. See if someone will work for 7 years to earn the right to go out with you. So, maybe your dad can instill that. But once Jacob finished those 7 years, he got his wish. Nope, JK, he did not get his wish. Check this out. So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood and prepared a wedding feast. Okay, that's awesome. But that night, when it was dark, all right, pre-electricity days, people, Laban took Leah, not Rachel, Leah, to Jacob, and he slept with her. All right, that's weird. But when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. Okay, gotcha. Worst prank ever. Not cool, Dad, okay? We're moving into some reality TV territory. If culture was so violent back then, wouldn't this mean that Jacob would attack Laban with a sword or something like that? I mean, isn't this a cause for, gruesome things to happen? No, all Jacob did was ask a couple of questions. Check this out. What have you done to me? Jacob raged at Laban, which that's what we all would have said. I worked 7 years for Rachel. Okay, Dad, Rachel. Why have you tricked me? The dad responds, it's not our custom here to marry off a younger daughter ahead of the firstborn. I would have been like, wish you would have told me that earlier, Laban replied. But wait until the bridal week is over, then we'll give you Rachel too, provided you promise to work another 7 years for me. Man, not the kind of guy you want for a father-in-law. It's our custom here, is what he said. I'd be like, where was that information 7.1 years ago when we talked through my premarital son-in-law tryouts? Like, you couldn't have brought that up then? Somehow, and this is crazy, Jacob agrees. So let me just take a brief moment to recap. Jacob is pranked into sleeping with and then marrying the older sister, but he still wants to marry the younger sis, so he agrees to work another 7 years. Like, you can't make up stuff like this, people, all right? That's so crazy. So Jacob works, and then he marries Rachel. 7 years, by the way, okay? This is just not like a quick summer job. This is 7 years. Except now there's a new problem beyond the fact that he now has 2 wives who are sisters, all right? That's a problem too. But check this out. When Rachel saw that she wasn't having any children for Jacob, this is down the road a little bit, she became jealous of her sister. She pleaded with Jacob, give me children or I'll die. Wow, dramatic. But it actually makes sense that she was so stressed because back then, again, in that culture, having kids was everything. Children were basically a status symbol. They carried on the family line, which was huge. That, it represented God's blessing a lot of times. And now Rachel is having issues in this area. Now, to make matters worse, her older sister is cranking out son after son. In fact, she named each son a different word, check this out, that reflected her unhappiness in being married to someone who doesn't love her. I'm literally speechless. The Bachelor can only dream of this level of drama, people. But do you see what's happening here? All Jacob wanted was Rachel, and he thought that marrying her would make him happy. I mean, now at that point, the guy had worked 14 years, so she was his dream girl. She would make everything right in his world. Why else would he work for 14 years to be with her? That's all Jacob wanted. All Rachel wanted was sons. She thought that would make her happy. That's why she resented her sister Leah when she had kids. Every son that Leah gave to Jacob was like a knife in the back and a reminder of what Rachel couldn't provide for him and for herself. And then you have Leah. All Leah wanted was Jacob's love. She thought that would make her happy. She obviously got the feeling that Jacob didn't love her, though. I mean, why else would a mom give her sons some names that reflected her loneliness? She was really trying to make it clear. I need a little more love and attention over here. You know, I'm naming my sons things like sorrow and misery and all this crazy stuff. See, this is about three people who wanted three different things. And oddly enough, all of those things were connected in some way to sex. Jacob wanted to have sex with the girl of his dreams. Rachel wanted sex to give her what it was giving her sister, which was children. And Leah wanted the person she was having sex and children with to love her. All of them wanted something connected to sex that they thought would make their life better. Whether it would make them feel appreciated, valuable, or loved, sex and what they thought sex should give them was an idol in their minds. It was more than it was supposed to be. But sex didn't deliver any of the things that they wanted, which lets us know people have believed unhealthy and untrue things about sex forever, for a long, long time. We aren't the first people to believe that it could make our lives complete, it could save our relationships, make our marriages perfect, make us feel valuable and wanted, make us a man or a woman. Sure, sex may momentarily solve some problems or help us escape some pain, but it's never the cure we think it will be, because sex wasn't made to be everything to us. Neither was marriage or love or children. Think about it. Leah figured this out after she married Jacob. Jacob figured this out once he married Rachel. Rachel figured this out once she married Jacob. See, sex didn't solve the problems they hoped it would solve. Why? Because it's not made for that. And maybe you found yourself believing some of the message we've talked about today. And hearing me argue against some of these messages may seem depressing. Like, wait, sex isn't the ultimate thing in life? Like, that's a letdown. But here's why we're talking about this. Because when we say that sex isn't everything, that's actually good news. Because you remember back to the beginning of this series, we talked about a psalm that David wrote, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that means a lot of things. One of which is that you don't need anything or anyone to make you worthy, to make you happy, to make you valuable. You have those things available to you now. Nothing needs to be added. You don't need sex to save a relationship today. And while married sex is a good thing, it's not what makes you worthy or valuable or important. Think about it this way. You were made for more than sex. God hasn't made something that's far off in the distance as a main tool to give you worth and value. He's made you with worth and value today, in this moment, right now, as you are. And here's what that truth means. If you've made a bad decision about sex, you are still worthy. You are still worthy. If you've used sex to validate yourself, you are still worthy. If you've used sex to prop up a relationship or save a relationship or keep a relationship, you are still worthy. If you haven't acted with sexual integrity, you are still worthy. Sex can't increase your value, and it can't decrease your value and worth as a person, because sex is not where your value comes from. And this is important because when you really get this, you can stop chasing sex like it's the most important thing in the world. You can stop treating it like a god and doing, what it tells you to do. You can stop obsessing over what may happen later, what your life may look like later, and pay attention to the life God made you to be living in right now. On the other hand, listen, if you've made wise choices when it comes to sex, if you've committed to waiting until you get married, if you've kept your boundaries in place, that also doesn't make you more valuable or worthy. That's great. That's awesome. We talk about those kinds of things, but you were already made valuable and worthy by God. Nothing adds to that reality, and nothing takes that reality away. And here's what I want you to remember from these past few weeks of this series. God has a plan for you, and God has a plan for sex. And we believe it's the best plan because it honors you, because it honors the other person. It sets you up, it sets them up for a better future. In other words, God's plan is good because God is good. And God's plan for you is good because God's heart for you is good. So here's my challenge. I want you to write down David's Psalm 139:14, the one we mentioned earlier. And I want you to carry it with you or place it somewhere that you will see often. I want you to think about this psalm whenever you're tempted to believe that something else will give you the value or worth that you want. I want you to think about it when you're tempted to believe that something you've done in the past has taken that value or worth away. I want you to think about it when you feel like your good actions and your good behavior is what makes you valuable or worthy. This verse is a powerful reminder that you are valuable and worthy simply because God made you. And nothing, including sex, can make you worth more or less right now. And as you leave here today, my hope is that you would remember this truth. God made you on purpose, fearfully and wonderfully. God made you fearfully and wonderfully, and nothing you have done or haven't done will change that. And I want you to experience life knowing that you matter. You matter. You have worth and value, and you matter no matter what.